and acceptance of this Hague Convention relating to matters of children. Mr. Speaker, these are actually very important conventions. To begin with, they are in line with the UN Convention for the Rights of the Child, which this country has actually ratified and has signed. And by our constitution, any law that we ratify or treaty becomes part of our law. So, Speaker, it's important because children do move a lot, particularly with their parents, and sometimes in circumstances what are actually differences within the family, so that a child moving may actually be considered to have been abducted. Or sometimes children move with their parents and one parent then abandons the children, and sometimes in terms of civil disruptions, children sometimes move alone, and therefore it becomes very important that we have internationally agreed ways of handling these children. Mr. Speaker, I support this because these conventions are actually in 3 parts, and the first part actually deals with the movement of children and how children will be handled when they have moved from one place to the other, or a parent has moved with a child, or a parent has moved and left a child behind. And when a child has been moved from their area of usual habituation, then is need to know how these children can be returned to their homes. And Mr. Speaker, there are so many laws and in different jurisdictions that it becomes very difficult to actually move the children, go through all the procedures. And therefore, the first part that deals with abduction actually gives provision so that across the various jurisdictions, children can be removed, can be returned to their habitual residences in an orderly manner, so that people who are involved, whether they are parents, whether they are government officers, don't have to go through complex different jurisdictions. And that part also deals with, Mr. Speaker, criminalization of moving and detaining children which may be not in areas where they normally reside, or not with the concurrence of one or both parents. Mr. Speaker, the other side deals with then what happens with the various laws. What methods do we use? And sometimes these are in private institutions, a children's home. Some children may have been fostered. Some children may actually have even been, in some cases, adopted. So you therefore need to know how shall we deal with this. And as I said earlier, there are different laws in different countries, and therefore you need one agreed way so that people who deal with these matters can actually handle the children without any problem. It is worth, Mr. Speaker, if you have parental disputes, where one parent wants to move with a child and the other parent doesn't want, eventually it turns into abduction. Sometimes children are unaccompanied and they are minors. How do you deal with them? And so that part gives you the provision of how you deal with these cross-border issues. Mr. Speaker, the other part that I find extremely useful is how do you enforce family parental responsibility and issues of maintenance. When a child has been moved or a parent has moved, what is the responsibility of that parent in terms of maintenance of the child? So, Mr. Speaker, this has covered everything, and that we really need to look at children. And Mr. Speaker, once this is signed, as a country will be bound by it. It will be our obligation, and all government officers, all individuals that are dealing with children will have to deal in line with this, particularly the judiciary and the office of the Attorney General, who will have responsibility over this, and also offices like the children's offices, children's officers, and so on. So this, I think, if we get to, will ease the issue of handling children across different jurisdictions. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support the ratification of these conventions. Thank you.
Honorable members, order. Honorable members, I hope that you heard what Dr. Nyikal said, and he was quoting without reference to Article 2 of the